the bomb. Drop the bomb. We're gonna drop the bomb. Drop the bomb. We come to drop the bomb. Drop the bomb. Open the bomb.
This is a journey into sound. A journey which along the way will bring to you new color, new dimension, new values, and a new experience.
LaMarr, Darnell Shields.
Hey, what's up, SoundBalming family? This is your man, Dr. LaMarr Darnell Shields, for another exciting, innovative, interesting, entertaining show here at the SoundBalming Studios. As you know, we try to bring on some of the dopest guests, some of the most inspirational people that would inspire you to do something great. And today is no different. In the studio with me is my man, Gregory Keith Grainger, who was born and raised in Baltimore, Maryland, the eldest of 3 to 2 loving and supportive parents. As a youth, Gregory always believed that God had a special plan for him and that his life was destined for greatness beyond his imagination. Growing up, he was entrenched and exposed to various activities and endeavors to help him decipher how he could maximize his potential as an adult. Moving forward, Gregory became very fond of acting. His love for the craft was later confirmed after attending his first acting class as an undergraduate at the great Temple University. He would later relocate to Atlanta, Georgia on faith, pursuit of conquering his dream, where he soon found himself back in acting classes. Making the decision to take acting seriously, he auditioned and acquired representation with the Jana Van Dyke Agency. And since deciding to make this a professional pursuit in 2008, Gregory has been building his resume, earning roles in theater, television, and independent films. Simply stated, Gregory Keith Grainger is a man of ambition who dares to dream and lives to make his dreams his reality, and his dreams have taken him to the big screen. You might have heard of some of these films: Queen and Slim, Uncle Drew, and the great TV show produced by my man Childish Gambino, Atlanta, just to name a few. But before he started his journey to the silver screen, he was one of my students, not an acting student, but a student in my Spanish class when I was his high school teacher. Greg just recently appeared on an episode of TV1's Fatal Attraction. Let's take a listen to that right now.
Mr. Houston, I know this is a difficult time, but we have a few questions for you.
I understand.
Are there any problems in your relationship?
We were honestly doing better than ever. We were in love.
Where were you Wednesday morning?
I was at my home in Columbus.
You didn't work that day?
No. I took off to do some personal errands. That's when I got the call. And I heard she was dead.
Was there anyone with you that morning? Anyone who can verify your whereabouts?
No.
Well, if you're just joining us, that is the great Gregory Grainger and one of his performances in TV1's Fatal Attraction. Man, Greg, welcome to SoundBalming.
Hello. Thank you for having me. How you doing, sir?
Man, brother, I am excited, man. I am excited that you are joining me in the bomb shelter, man. I am, I've been watching you. First of all, I watched you as a student. That's an exciting part. And then to see you on the big screen. Prior to the big screen, man, I saw you, of course, in this TV1 Fatal Attraction episode. First of all, I as a teacher, I didn't even know you had the acting bug. When did you get the acting bug? And then talk about this whole Fatal Attraction piece, man.
Okay. Well, I'd say I realized that I caught it when I took my first class at Temple University. It was after I pretty much completed my core classes, so that wasn't until my junior year. And I took the class. My acting teacher at the time thought that I was really good for it to be my first time, trying it. And I just fell in love with it, So from there, I had to work, so I didn't really pursue it right away. But that's when I caught the bug. And with the Fatal Attraction piece, man, that was exciting because I think that may have been like one of my first on screen speaking roles on television. So that was pretty cool, man. It was kind of heavy, but it wasn't too difficult. I just played it as real as possible,
Dude, so let me just tell you how I felt, man. Listen, I knew you as a teenager, and then to turn on the TV. First of all, I don't even know how the hell I was watching TV1's Fatal Attraction, man. That's kind of scary, man. Talking about killing each other, Right. That's just very, very interesting. But I love the sort of reenactment piece. But man, to see you in a different light, man. I know when I was teaching you at the Great City College, we had a lot of fun in class, man. I had you all acting out skits in Spanish. Because I really want to bring this language to you all, and you did a great job of that. But I would have never known that you would become this great actor. We're going to talk about all the amazing things that you've been doing. But how did it feel, man, when you saw yourself on TV for the very first time? What was that feeling like?
Oh man, it's exciting. It's humbling. It's a little nerve wracking. Because I'm watching and I'm just thinking to myself, I'm probably my own worst critic, so I'm watching and I'm just thinking man, I just wanted to come across true, I just wanted to come across real and be received well. So, but it's always exciting, it just I'm pursuing something that I love to do, and it's a blessing.
So let's go back to the great Temple University, man. Tell me what your major was again.
My major was communications, broadcast, telecommunications, and mass media.
So you walked into this class. Was this what they would call like a GPA booster, man? Like, I'm going to take this class to boost my GPA, this acting class. How did you end up in the acting class? And what did that teacher say to you, or what did you notice in that classroom that you then knew that this is what I wanted to do for the rest of my life?
Man. I took the class intentionally. Because I'd always had an interest in it since from, in hindsight, looking back, I realized I'd always had an interest in acting since I was a kid. And, so when I got the opportunity to add it to my schedule, I jumped on it, and it was a dope class. I remember specifically, he had split us up into, he partnered us with, different people in the class and had us working on scenes. And before we even did the scene, we got some work just to do in class. And I remember getting up with the young lady, and I was just thinking to myself, man, I just wanted to really believe the words that I'm speaking to her, so I just took that approach, from the beginning. And, once he saw that, he was, kind of like, man, is this your first time? He said, yeah, you're pretty good to be doing this, for your first time. I think you should maybe think about, going out for some plays or what have you in the area. And of course, I'm in Philadelphia, but, after you graduate, you got bills to pay. I'm living in Philly. I got to pay rent. I got to eat, that sort of thing. So I didn't really pick it back up until I moved to Atlanta. And then I decided to get back in classes and take it on seriously.
What were some of the things that you sort of learned in your acting class? I think a lot of times, Greg, these folks that become these great actors, I remember Denzel talked about stumbling upon an acting class and some other great actors. And we tend not to celebrate those people that taught us at the early ages, at the early stages of our work. What were some of those things that you learned about acting that's really carried over into your performances right now?
Man, I would say that probably the most important thing is that acting is not really acting, and we're
explain what that means.
So for me, it's about telling the truth, being honest in everything that I'm doing. So it's my job to bring the script and the character to life, as if, you know, I'm really becoming this character and feeling what this character would be feeling at this time, or whatever is going on in the scene or in the play, or, you know, in the film or television. So, that was probably one of the most important things that I kind of learned early on, and really, you know, started practicing and honing in on, is that, you know, acting is not acting. No, we're really telling the truth, you know, and as if this is, you know, it's a real life situation. Because if I'm not telling the truth and what I'm doing, I'm not being honest and open and vulnerable, then the audience can see that, they can feel that, you know. So if you're not being honest within the scene, then, you know, it comes across on screen. It's like, oh man, it's kind of hard to watch, you know.
Who do you look up to in the industry that you think has that? Everything that you're talking about that you were taught in your acting class that you're currently using, who have you come across that actually has that? Like, that's so believable. Every time you look at a role, you're like, man, they've actually taken on that role, or taken on that personality.
Man, it's so many. It's so many. Of course, Mr. Denzel Washington. Man, Will Smith. Man, he takes so many risks. I'm a fan of Leonardo DiCaprio. Man, what he does is crazy. So many actors. Viola Davis. Her work is so strong and passionate, and it's just filled with, you know, just honesty.
See, I'm waiting for you. I'm waiting for you to name your old Spanish teacher. You ain't say Senor Shield. Man, you remember how I performed, brother? Be real clear. Don't get it twisted. I put on a show every day for you jokers, talking with puppets on my hand, speaking in a different language. Remember those days?
Yeah, man. I enjoyed your class. I just felt bad sometimes because it was right after lunch. So for me, it was a struggle to stay awake.
Dude, first of all, it was hard to stay awake in my class because I was constantly moving around and grabbing you all and throwing you all, man, throwing things at you guys to get you to pay attention. No, you had it, man. It's kind of hard not to have it in my class, man. But I would have never put you in this acting category. And that's what's interesting, man, is that, again, you performed in my class. You know, all the students performed, even some of the worst students. And let me just let you all know, Gregory Grainger was an amazing student. Never had a problem out of him. Knew about him because I knew about his uncles and the Grainger brothers and the jazz music and all of that. So I'm not surprised that you're doing what you're doing. And I love what you said about trust and believing the character. And you use Denzel as a great as a great segue into this. I'm a huge Denzel fan, not because everybody says I look like him, and that's a whole nother conversation, brother.
Oh, yeah.
I hear a little hate over there on the other side, brother.
Man.
But when Denzel took on the role of Malcolm X, I remember, Gregory, that Malcolm X's security, man, because Denzel did this on stage first. And I remember Malcolm X's security talked about how this role was so believable, man, that he really believed that this person was Malcolm X. Man, I was listening to Malcolm X give a speech. I was in a barbershop a couple of days ago, man, and I looked up, I'm thinking it's Denzel, man, and I'm like, man, this dude had him down packed, man. Where do you pull that from? Where does somebody like Denzel, somebody like you, pull that from to bring that character to life like that?
Man, when I figure out where Darnell pulled it from,
well, dude, you did it, and all the things that I've seen. We're going to talk about your most recent piece, but the Fatal Attraction stuff, the things that I've seen you in, that was like I know you as Greg, but I'm like, but you look like, dude, you look like something was really, really wrong with you when you were acting out that. I'm like, this was believable. Anytime I know you as a person, I'm like, man, you really made me believe that what I heard and what I saw was believable, and you actually said that. Would you say that is the most successful actors, is to be able to do that?
I appreciate that, man. Yeah, I mean, that's just part of the work. And there's so many talented actors out there, and just great with putting the work and the time and the energy to, you know, just to bring the characters to life. Of course, this, you know, it's a grind. So
Let's talk about the grind. Let's talk about let people that are listening understand and want to do this full time. Talk about the grind, and then we'll talk about the benefits. But talk about the challenges that you've had to deal with.
Well, it's not a constant pace. So, while I'm out here and I'm going auditions and waiting for auditions and in classes and, having to pay for classes and, pretty much investing in yourself, classes, headshots, getting your resume ready, reels, and that whole nine. You have to work. You have to do something to keep the lights on and food in your stomach, and so it's a grind. And one of my acting coaches who I study with down here, I'm sure you're probably familiar with him, Mr. Greg Allen Williams. I remember him saying in class one time, he said, for every one audition that I book, I've done 300 auditions, So that's just the name of the game. And, the more you do it, the more you stick with it, and the more you continue to grow. And people in the industry, the casting directors and producers, they start to get familiar with your face and your work that you're doing and your work ethic. You want people to want to work with you as well as developing your talent. So, and that takes time. It takes time, it takes work, it takes networking and, just kind of getting to know people and more importantly, people getting to know you. So it's a part of the grind. And because I love it, it makes it a lot easier, because I enjoy it so much. So it's not, I don't really think about it from a negative perspective so much. At times it gets a little, you get a little frustrated every now and then, but that kind of just rolls off my shoulders pretty quickly, just because I love the work and I love what's coming next and the possibilities that are out there. You know what I mean?
So those days that you're not performing, and I know you come from a very strong family with a strong faith. Can you talk about how important your faith is during those times when you might have wanted to give up on several occasions, when you've gone to 300 of these auditions and you only get a one call back and you might not get accepted? Talk about your personal faith and what you do to keep motivated during those times.
Right. So for me, I believe in myself, and I believe that for one to believe in God, I feel like it's also to believe in yourself, and I believe in the law of attraction and continuing to put in good vibes into the universe. And I've learned to be patient. I've learned to be patient because, as a teenager and a young adult, we want things right then and there, immediately, constantly, like the microwave effect. We want it as soon as we think about it, basically. So I've learned to be patient and just continuing to work and just sticking with it, never quitting, especially if it's something that you're passionate about and that you really want. And, and there's different levels to it. And I just believe that the Creator has something in store for me that I probably can't even fathom right now. And like you said, you didn't see me becoming an actor. I didn't see me becoming an actor at that time. I just knew that I didn't want to do the typical 9-to-5 for my career path. But I had really no idea what I wanted to do at that time in high school. So just, staying strong, believing in that the Creator is he's gonna take care of everything that your heart desires, because I believe our true passions and desires that we have, they were in a gift that we were given. I believe that they were given to us, by God, from the Creator, whomever it is that you believe in. And we have them for a reason. And I think that acting may be just a stage for me to do greater things. things that are bigger than me. And I'm looking forward to whatever that is.
Yeah, that's love. I like to hear that, man. So I got to go to this moment when I took my son and daughter to the theater, and we were going to see this great film by my homegirl, Lena Waithe, Queen and Slim. Now, the story of Queen and Slim is propelled by an arbitrary traffic stop in which a police officer detains a couple on a first date, played by Daniel Kaluuya and Jodie Turner-Smith. And so I'm watching this film, and all of a sudden on the screen, I see a police officer in New Orleans, because I went to school at Grambling State University, and I'm in there losing it. My phone is off because I'm trying to be nice, keep the phone off, and I'm telling my daughter, "That's my student. That's great. That's great. Pull out your phone. Pull out your phone. Call. That's great." And everybody looking at me like, "Dude, would you please be quiet?" I'm like, "Listen, that's my man. I done graded his papers. I done talked to his parents. I done talked to him about life. I'm in there losing it." And then I leave out of there, and this is what I love about you, man. I want you to, and I know you're gonna stay this way because of the family that you have. I sent you that text message, and you was like, "Man, thank you, Mr. Shields. I really, really appreciate it." Man, let's talk about being in this cultural phenomena, this film, Queen and Slim. What was that like?
Man, I was, oh man, it was so exciting. I'm so grateful and, man, just humbled and blessed just to be a part of this amazing film. You know, I believe that, man, it's a classic film, and just how powerful it is. I remember doing the audition. I had to put myself on tape, the initial audition. The initial audition was actually for the role of, the initial audition was for the role that I got. Put myself on tape. And I remember my homeboy who also acts out here in Atlanta, Mac, Michael Lawson's his name. I go to him often. He puts me on tape for most of my auditions. And I remember doing the scene, and like when we finished it and looked at it and just kind of like laughing about it, just because the banter of it, and it was like back and forth, and he was like, man, you're going to get this, you know? I was like, man, I appreciate that, you know. And so, because we do so many, it's like we do our best in the auditions. We put it in, we put it down, and then we, you know, let God take the wheel, like let everything else happen. So some weeks later, I got an email from my agent, you know, saying that I had a call back for that, and I had to drive down to New Orleans for that. So I drove down to New Orleans, myself and another actor from my agency who also had a call back for a different role in the film. On the way down there, so the callback was for the officer who opened up the garage door. Remember that scene?
Yeah, I do remember that scene.
So I had to learn those lines. I got those lines the night before I had to drive down for the callback. So I'm running those lines on our way to New Orleans. And then I say to myself, you know, I want to prepare for the initial role that I did as well, just in case. To get down there, I'm one of maybe I'm in the top, one of the first 8-10 people that gets called into the room, you know, to come in for the callback. I go in, I do the lines for the officer who opened up the garage, and Lena Waithe is there. Melina Matsoukas is there. The casting director is there, Megan Lewis. And so we're all in the room, and I'm reading with Megan. And so at the end of, Melina and Lena, they're like, okay, cool. That was cool. And they're like, we have another role we want you to read for. And they hand me the side so you can go outside in the hallway and look them over for a minute, you know, if you want to. So I thought I head to the door. And I looked down the initial role that I auditioned for, the one that I was also preparing for on the way down. So I said, you know what, I can go now if you want me to. And they was kind of like,
I know they had to be bugging. Like, they had to be bugging. Like, are you for real?
They're like, you know, so you good now? I was like, yeah, I got it. And, you know, and the casting director, Megan, was like, yeah, he can handle it. And she's amazing. And so I do it. They had me do it, you know, a couple times, a few different ways. And that was it. And then got an email from my agent maybe a week or two later saying that, you know, they were considering me and another person, and then I ended up getting the role, man. And I was like, man, this is amazing. And at the time, I didn't realize, I knew it was a dope film, but I didn't realize how heavy and the magnitude it was going to have and how great it was going to be. So,
I don't think when we're walking in our gifts like that, Greg, we actually realize that we are in it, because I think the moment that we do, and I'm so glad that you said that, I think that that's what the level of arrogance goes up to the point where, like, I'm making this film and I know that this is what's going to happen and we're going to do that. But to hear you say, I didn't even know what I was walking into, but now I see it after it. So she called it, Lena Waithe called it actually a form of protest art. Can you sort of break down what you think that means when she made that statement?
I think that means that it was necessary in the way that it spoke to and it speaks to pretty much a lot of what's happening in our country today and in the United States, as far as, you know, young, black, colored, unarmed men being, you know, killed by police officers, and pretty much not much is being done to, you know, to stop it from happening. And it's sad. So in a way, this was, I feel like, a way of her kind of saying this is something that could potentially happen, you know, not that it's anything that any of us want to happen, but like, this is real life.
These are things that have been happening. Be real clear, not could happen, but these are some things. Yeah, these are some things that have really, really happened. I mean, not based on this, because this was not a true story, right? This was not based on a true story.
No.
Okay.
I mean, outside of, so when I say something that could potentially happen, meaning like as far as you know, Daniel Kaluuya, his character gets stopped and he ends up killing the officer. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because I haven't seen that anywhere in this yet. You know, it's not anything. It's not like she's promoting that violence or that act, but it's a possibility. You know what I mean? And it just opened. I feel like it opened a lot of people's eyes outside of, you know, our race.
Well, it definitely opened the eyes of my children, who was 12 and 16. The conversation after leaving the theater was amazing. Even before we walked out the theater, they actually had to put us out, because I'm always into credits. I love theater, man. I love it. I'm into credits. I'm into it. Was this really shot here? I'm into who actually did this. I just like you, because I remember you talked about being at your grandmother's house and watching all these old movies, and you were really, really into those old movies. So just like you, at a young age, I was really into the behind the scenes and sort of what it took to do that. So you get this role, man. Now this is where the other part comes in. You in the same room with Bokeem. You in the same room with Daniel, Jody, Lena. You in the same room with these individuals. Talk to me about how that actually felt, being in that space.
Man, well, so you know, naturally, I'm a real laid back, quiet type of guy. So
that's why I'm blown away that you're doing this. That's what I love about it, man. That's what I love about it. Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm pretty reserved. So I'm on set. You know, when I get to set or whatever, my mindset is like, Greg, don't F this up. You know what I mean?
I got you. It's like, I don't know how long I'm gonna be here.
Yeah. I'm just like, you know, I just wanna be focused and do exactly, you know, do what I'm supposed to do, and I mean, and help contribute in a way that, you know what I mean, everybody loves what I'm doing. And so, but there was a point where, you know, I was in you know, between shots. I'm in the room with Daniel and Bokeem, and you know, I got to, you know, have a conversation with them. They're such cool individuals, very down to earth, open, you know. And I remember telling Bokeem, I said, man, I remember growing up on films that you've done. You know what I mean? I said I hated you in what was that with
with Jada?
John, yes. Oh man, I know. I'm just drawing a blank. What's the film?
You're talking about the Jason's Lyric.
Yes, I said I hated you in Jason's lyric, man. And he just started laughing.
That's when you know you did your job. When you hate a character, you this was just acting, right?
Right. No, man, they did great work, man. And it was just a blessing, man. And I'm just grateful to have been able to be a part of that whole experience and the work, the film.
Yeah, the experience is real, man, because people now are all doing the Queen and Slim poses. People are dressing up Queen and Slim for Halloween. That's when you know it's actually real, man. So what's next for you? You coming off this major film. What's the next project that you're working on?
The last film that I worked on that'll be coming out so far is it's not a film, it's a television show. It was written and produced by directed by Barry Jenkins.
You ain't good company, man.
Yeah, amazing. He's amazing, man. And he was so down to earth, so humble and easy to work with. I just think I'm getting blessed. And he did, if you're familiar with some of his work, If Bill Street Could Talk, and the movie Moonlight.
So this dude has 2 awards behind him. So already you are in great company, man. Which are 2 films I saw, and I appreciate that too.
Absolutely. So I believe that comes out sometime this year.
Wow. So you on the road. So let me ask you this, man. What would you do if you were not acting?
If I was not acting, it would probably be I would be involved in some type of business venture pursuit. Probably have my own business of some sort. And I'm actually, I'm a entrepreneur as well. So I'm working on some things in addition to the acting, but it has to allow me to be able to act, So I have some things in the works. Course.
Well, we're expecting some great things from you, brother. How could our listeners get in contact with you?
I am on Instagram at GK Grainger, and that's pretty much the main spot to reach me. I need to do better with my social media, to be honest with you. It's not really my cup of tea, but I do try to jump on there. Just to, checking with the people.
Well, as we said, we're expecting some great things from you, man. I appreciate you joining us in the bomb shelter. But before you get off this line, man, my favorite part of the show is called the Super Bomb Questions. And I'm going to ask you these questions, and these are rapid fire questions, not slow motion questions. So I'm going to ask you some questions, and as soon as you get the answer off the top of your head, I want you to respond. So you ready? All right, so here we go. What's your favorite word?
Love.
What's your superpower?
Right now, like as a regular human being?
Yes.
Oh man. My superpower. I like to be as honest as possible, no matter the situation.
What's your spirit animal or animal spirit?
A wolf.
What moves you to tears?
Oh man, so much. Empathy.
What makes you smile?
Family.
What do you wish you had more time to do?
Read.
If you were in the Mr. America talent competition, what would your talent be?
Mr. America talent competition. My talent, maybe I'd sing a little bit.
What's your morning routine like?
My morning routine, man. Right now, I get up. Past week, I've been getting up, say like 3 a.m, just to like I said, I'm working on a skill set which requires me to get up at 3 a.m, and I'll work on that for a few hours. Then I'll get ready to go out and work by 6.
So you're up early. What advice would you give to the 15-year-old Gregory Grainger?
14-year-old, I would tell him to get started in acting sooner, like to look into going to school for theater and acting. Because had I known then how much I love it, I would definitely have done that.
Well, Gregory Grainger, man, I thank you for joining me in the bomb shelter, man. I also want to thank my producer, Noemi and Supremacy, for our theme music, and for all of you for listening. And as always, believe that something wonderful is about to happen, and that some people miss the message because they're too busy looking for the mess. Thanks for tuning in, and do something for someone other than yourself today. You've been listening to SoundBalming. Peace.